Welcome back to the NUTRIMEDICAL Report. We have Clay here. And Clay, I want to start off with a couple of principles. One of the first principles is that, and again, by the way, a couple of new announcements. We're doing a lot of expansions here at Genesis. We'll be putting a banner ad over on the archives page and the podcast. The new podcast function will have information that'll tell everyone on all different programs about NutriMedical.com. The information we provide, by the way, is very unique. Here at Genesis Network, and I've been with GCN for 10 years, we've just reworked a new deal to get expanded commercials across the network. We're going to be expanding, also bringing in other show guests from other shows on GCN and other networks. For example, Chris Geo will be on this Thursday. He has Truth Frequency Radio, and he also has a show here on Genesis Network. Excellent young man with a very broad knowledge of a whole lot of issues dealing with prepping. He works with one of the main prepper supply companies, which we'll talk about as well. And then we're going to be expanding also the number of conferences. We're doing multi-point conferences that are for our membership. If you have membership, you will be able to access the wellness conditions and the live stream channels. We're also going to start archiving and cross-indexing all the shows. So what you'll see is, as time goes on, you'll be able to actually, right now the function's already been there. I designed it initially in Java and Java Beans because I did the computer engineering to actually design it. And then I had our programmers program it and gradually upgrade the functions over the years. So if you search a specific topic, you'll be able to find out with keywords topic on, say, congestive heart failure or cancer or whatever, and you'll be able to actually find the MP3 of that program too, whether it's our GCN programs, because of course all of these shows are my proprietary information, or if I'm on another network and I do a talk for a company. For example, I've got a show out of Vancouver, Canada that wants me to do a program, and I'll be also on Truth Frequency Radio at the end of this month with JD talking about Red Pill Reports, talking about this part 2 on Fukushima Daiichi. So all those things are happening. Clay, let's talk about energetics, mitochondria. The first things we do is a triad, which is a NutriTrala, Supernox, and Anti-Age Max. And then, of course, we go into our CoQ10 Supreme, which is the only CoQ10 that doesn't polymerize or crystallize in the world. We have the only one. CoQ10 ubiquinol, the highest quality ubiquinol, which is a reserve form. And we have, of course, our 3 carnitines. I just launched this morning our new Vascu carnitine. The Vascu Care, it's called, Vascu Care, which is a straight propionyl L-carnitine for heart, vascular, and brain and central nervous system. We have the mitocarnitine, which is a glycinate form, which will then carry it into the cells as well, different form. And we have the long-acting, slow-release, primarily for bowel to normalize the myenteric plexus, called our IBS Care. So we have Vascu Care now just launched. That's available today. It'll be there for our sale. We also have a new sale price, by the way, for our Silver 100 is 25% off, and that sale is going to continue not just right now, but through the weekend after for some time. So we're going to continue that sale. We just launched it today, pre-sale. And of course, we have sales every day. And so, Clay, let's talk about energy. Our triad, which is to start off as Supernox, Anti-Age Max, and the NutriTrala. And the combination, of course, is very important for PGC1 alpha and the other pathways to resurrect mitochondriogenesis. And of course, that fits in with our Nutriodine, the only Tesla-activated diatomic iodine. There's lots of Me Too copies out there. They don't do anything. They're basically useless. And we have our mitothyroid, which is our thyroid support and adrenal support. So if you follow our program, you are going to generate new mitochondrial powerhouses in your cell, and you're going to activate them. So let's go through this whole, what I call mitochondrial support, which includes our mitochondrial catalyst and uridine as well. So we have a whole range of nutraceuticals that are very powerful for that.
Yeah, I like to add those 3 together because, studies have shown one of the ways to activate your anti-aging genes, or the SIRT2 gene, SIRT1 specifically, is 2 different ways. You can do it through vigorous exercise and or calorie restriction. And there's been all kinds of different studies in calorie restriction in different bacteria, viruses, small mammals, and it's always in fish. It's shown that calorie restriction can elongate longevity by up to 30% in some species. And so that's because it's activating the SIRT2 genes, or your anti-aging gene. Well, studies have also shown that if you add these three ingredients together, they can activate the same gene transcription factors that exercise and or calorie restriction activate, meaning they can activate the SIRT2 gene. And the way they do it is supernox. Supernox is your L-arginine, control-release L-arginine, AKG from Germany, the best form of L-arginine you can get. That helps support activation of nitric oxide. The next one is the anti-age max, which is a blended form of control-release resveratrol and transresveratrol with added quercetin. That helps to activate PGC1 alpha by helping to mildly irritate the cell to tell it, hey, I need to repair myself. And then last but not least, you have the NUTRIMEDICAL. NUTRIMEDICAL is 600 milligrams of control-release alpha-lipoic acid. So it releases into the body between 4 to 8 hours, depending on your digestion. And what that does, it helps upregulate your AMP kinase, which is your master regulator of appetite. Put all together, and it would be like you're restricting your calories and you're exercising all at once. And of course, we recommend that you take all three and do this. What I'm talking about is control your calorie intake and add exercise to it. By doing that, that should really upregulate the production of new mitochondria, as well as potentially help you lose weight and maintain muscle mass.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of research this weekend about mitochondrial dysfunction, and basically all diseases have three common factors. The first is all diseases have decreased mitochondrial function of one type or another. Secondly, that decreased formation of electrons in the cell cytochrome causes a decrease in the pH and moves the cell toward anaerobic metabolism, where it doesn't use as much oxygen, and it moves to anaerobic metabolism such as hexose monophosphate shunt, which fits us also in the idea that an illness basically is an acidotic, hypoxic, and low redox or low electron density state. So when you get the tissues and the mitochondria activated, you reverse things like hypertension, which is basically a compensating action of the heart to try to push blood through when the secondary peristaltic wave of the arteries, arterioles, venules, and veins are not working properly to cause a major circulation, and the heart tries to compensate, so it drives up the driving pressure, which can push you into heart failure or can cause vascular disease or even cause dissecting aneurysm. And as of course you damage the internal lining of the vessels, you can end up with not only dissection of a blood vessel, but you can end up with plaque formation because it increases the stress in the vessel. So taking things to support normal mitochondrial function works not only in the vessels, but also in all of your organs, especially ones at high energy like your brain. So when you take CoQ10, it's very important for brain function, along with things like Cognition Plus, brain power, and synaptin. When you take that along with Neurogen that remyelinates nerve fibers, and NutriPhos for solid organ and remyelination of nerve pathways, you're going to improve not only vascular function, but brain function, kidney function, etc. In other words, wherever there are mitochondria, you're going to increase the function. You reverse aging. We have also a form called acetyl L-carnitine, ALC1000, and D-ribose that will also increase mitochondrial function. The D-ribose directly converts to ATP, and the ALC1000, I put it in my drink, which is my breakfast this morning, along with Glycemics, Ageless Energize, NutriComplete, and Life Support. And I put in large amounts of the omega cod liver liquid, along with ALC1000 and D-ribose, and a couple big dropperfuls, probably 30-40 drops of Nutriodine in a big blender that'll use over a day or so. So nothing like NutriMeds. Their flavor, nutraceutical power, final converted state. There's no comparison. You can't find it anywhere on the internet or anywhere else, and even a private practice, anything like NutriMeds and our protocols. Back in a moment with Clay. Stay tuned. The NutriMedical report. Clay, we talked about energetics. A lot of people say, well, how can you measure all these things? Well, we can measure them with various functions. You can do, if you want to be fancy in the lab, you can actually take a biopsy and do a scanning electron microscopy. You can do redox tests where you actually do an oxygen CO2 clamp test where you clamp the person's mouth and nose, and you can determine their total number of METs or metabolic units in terms of oxygen consumption. You can actually measure organic acid, indicating whether the mitochondria are functioning properly in urine or blood. And the quantum testing is the QRMA and the 8D-LRIS is the two devices that we sell. The QRMA is probably the simplest, and it's easy to hold the electrode for a minute. The 8D-LRIS will take anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes to do a full nonlinear analysis of your body, which will even tell you what pathogens are present, which tissue and organ, and does even a cross-section and will ring right down to the individual anatomical organ and or even chromosome, even the end of the specific part of the chromosome. So you can correlate that with, for example, things like your genome analysis through 23andMe and Prometheus that does data analysis and cross-checks with research literature that's published. So looking at all this data, I can actually correlate it all together and show people that if they've got chronic fatigue syndrome, let's say after vaccines or after a chronic viral infection, they've got a mitochondrial dysfunction. So we have things that right now that can reverse that. A lot of the stuff that we call aging really is just silencing of genes associated with genes and with the regular chromosomes and your mitochondria cross-talking. And for example, when people get gray hair, it's actually silencing the gene that's a manganese-dependent pigment enzyme pathway in the hair follicles. And when we use things like Indiamese, which you can take orally, you can also put it in your Recidival hair tonic, you'll notice as you're taking our NutriMed line, Vitamin Mineral Max, Minerals Plus, etc., Life Support, and our other supplements like Ageless Energize that contain Trax amino acid chelates, and our MG12 topical products that we recommend as affiliates, that your body starts to remineralize your tissues with Indiamese, both orally and topically on, say, the scalp if you're trying to reverse hair, and you'll see the gene silencing actually switch back on again. Pretty neat. So in other words, the mineral concentration and the downregulation of specific enzymes directly tied to gene silencing. Interesting, hey?
Mm-hmm. Yes, very interesting.
Very interesting. So let's talk about some more of the kind of the products. So we had a gentleman the other day that was talking about his polycystic kidney disease on Friday, PKD, and I'm just going to expand on that a bit. One of the Dr. Albert DeGray, the mathematician that started the Zero Senescence Project, they call the Methuselah-Most Project, he basically, one of the 7 principles that the accumulation of senescent cells is one of the major causes of aging. And it makes sense. I mean, if let's say you had a machine and part of that machine had metal fatigue, or the screws got worn, or the metal started to kind of break down, one of the parts, then the machine wouldn't work very well. Well, if you could replace that part, then the machine would work good again. What the body does is if it doesn't get rid of those senescent cells, then the tissues and organs don't work as well as they should. There might be, for example, senescent heart muscle cells, so your heart's not contracting, senescent nerve cells, so those nerve cells are not firing to create a neural network, senescent skin cells, so that the skin is not as elastic or able to give as good a physical barrier to injury, or if it's thinning, it easily is traumatized. So one of the first things we recommend to remove senescent cells are a couple things. Full vitamin K2 or menaquinone 7, which, by the way, we also use in our cancer protocol. We had a question this morning by email, believe it or not, all the way from Malaysia, about why we use one menaquinone 7, which is full vitamin K2 for every 3 power C. That's the usual ratio we've discovered from research that works best to actually not only stop cancer but autoimmune diseases, and also stimulate what's called programmed cell death or apoptosis of senescent cells. So it's used for anti-aging, it's used for cancer, and it's used for autoimmune conditions. We also use malignoblock and ellagic acid, which operate by different mechanisms. And if you're taking the full dosage, let's say an autoimmune disease and cancer, it's going to be 2 capsules each 3 times a day. Malignoblock, let's talk about that for a minute, because this is important in the full vitamin K2, because they get rid of these senescent cells. They're the 2 kind of key supplements that'll get rid of old cells and that the body can replace for new ones.
Yes, yeah, I really like the Malignoblock. You know, it's per cap you have 30 milligrams of glucoraphanin, which yields you the sulforaphane glucosinolate. What that is from is 4-day-old broccoli seed. So each capsule contains as much sulforaphane in it as 2 pounds of raw organic broccoli. And so I don't know about you, but I don't think I could eat 2 pounds of raw organic broccoli a day. And if I did, nobody would want to be around me. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're a pretty funny guy. Yeah, raw organic broccoli would make you the least friend of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, tell us more. What else can you tell us about?
Well, it's been studied at Johns Hopkins University since the early 90s, and there's been over 1,000 published research articles on this ingredient. You can go to Medline or PubMed and type in SGS, and you'll see all the different great uses and things they studied regarding this. And so just one of those things that I think everyone should take on a daily basis. It's been shown in research studies to detoxify estrogens. There's a study out of UCLA that showed that it will actually metabolize and detoxify diesel exhaust fumes and gases and residues out of cells. And so, I don't know how many of your listeners drive in cars every day, but if you are, you're driving and you're sucking down diesel. So 1 cap a day is all you need to do to help with that detoxification process.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It is.
That diesel, by the way, is trimellitic anhydrates, also bisphenol A and endocrine disruptors, which are a major cause of both male and female problems, including cancer. So people shouldn't be panicking about BRCA1 genes like the attitude of Mrs. Jolie, or I guess Miss Jolie, because even though she's married. She's developed what's called a hollow woman syndrome, and really all she needs to do is take NutriDefense, which has a polyphenol and the detoxifiers, and the most important, of course, is the xenoestrogen detox and life support to try to help detox. You also can support the methylation pathways with bio-LVR, Semethyl, superfolate, and pyromethyl B12, because methylation is the number one pathway for detoxifying in the body. The second is sulfation and glucuronidation. Those are the 3 key ones. And if you support those with life support, xenoestrogen detox, and NutriDefense, and we also have the Green Tea Select, which has also very high-powered catechins, each capsule equivalent to 10 pots of green tea. Catechins are extremely important for getting rid of biotoxins out of the body. And when we come back, we'll talk with Clay some more about these amazing detox products and how you can overcome your genes. Don't cut out your organs, just remove the toxins from your body, and you're going to be abundantly healthy. Back in just a minute. When we're talking about the issues of how to get healthy, a lot of people base it on the idea of symptoms, or they base it on parameters that their doctor's measuring. And I'll just kind of do a kind of intellectual dissection. If you check someone's, for example, mini mental status value, you're trying to determine if they have signs where they've got double vision, loss of mentation, loss of hearing, imbalance problems. Look at difficult sensory and vibratory testing with the tuning fork to see if they've lost long track vibrational tests, etc. These are screening tests to look for symptoms and signs. Signs basically meaning a loss of function that's very subtle. For example, in diabetic peripheral neuropathy, usually it's diffuse neuropathy of the A delta and C fibers. If you have neuropathy, we have neuropathy protocols, and I think everybody who's diabetic should be on a preventive neuropathy protocol at the very first sign of diabetes, which is a hemoglobin A1C over 7, or if it's gestational diabetes, they get a 1 hour glucose after 50 gram test, 1 hour blood sugar after 50 gram challenge of glucose. The pregnancy glucose tolerance test is modified. And if your hemoglobin A1C is high or your fasting blood sugar is over, roughly 146, it's a little low. It's a little higher for people that are older because they tolerate a higher level. But what happens is peripheral neuropathy is a big deal, and what we do there is we have nutraceuticals for it. We have a new one we're going to be launching that works along with our other nutraceuticals. It's going to be called Copper Regenerex, and it's a newer copper sabacate special form for copper. You need nutriphos or phospholipids. And you'll need things to actually regenerate the tissue. We recommend fat-soluble vitamins, which is the omega cod liver liquid. And for phospholipids, to rebuild the tissues, also omega supreme krill, especially in omega supreme. You want to regenerate the tissues. You want to build up the collagen, so you need collagen max to lay down the new, we call it, framework for building any tissue. So let's talk for a minute about, we call signs and symptoms. A lot of people say, well, how often is peripheral neuropathy? Well, in diabetics, it's 1 in 20 develops a horrifying pain syndrome over 20 years since the point of diagnosis. And that's a big problem. In the same way that 90, according to conventional medicine, and I was just looking at all my continuing education resources because I have a lifetime membership and I do a lot of CME myself just to keep ahead of what the medical profession are trying to tell people. Much of it is, some of it's based on observation, some of it's based on the idea that we're helpless, therefore we got to give you a ton of drugs. And they'll tell you, for example, that 90% of diabetics after diagnosis in 10 years will be on insulin. Well, that's not true at all. If you take our diabetic protocol, dibetaline and biotin plus, leptin metabolic, conjugated linoleic acid, which is our lipo flush, and minerals plus, vitamin mineral max, you're going to reverse that. You're basically raising the mineral content, you're lowering the insulin resistance with leptin metabolic and the lipo flush, so you don't need to. But with peripheral neuropathy, that's doable too. What's in NutriFos? Why is it so important for neuropathy? And of course, I tell people you need to take thiamine. It's the most important thing for diabetics or anybody even with a toxic neuropathy if they're a firefighter and getting neuropathic changes, cardiac conduction problems or difficult in peripheral neuropathy, is ultrathiamine B1 and our allithiamine. So let's go through a couple of these products, Clay, and talk about what happens when people start getting neuropathically ill and why can we reverse it with fat-soluble thiamine and phospholipids. The minerals zinc and copper present in Minerals Plus and Vitamin Mineral Max. And of course our new amplifier as well, we need to add a little extra copper, so we have the Copper Regenerex, which will be a Regenemax, it is, so will be available in the next few days. So let's look at them.
Yeah, well, the ultrathiamine B1 I really like because this actually is a fat-soluble form of B1. And so you can absorb it just in a lot greater ways. And, thiamine deficiency shows up in all kinds of different ways. And one of them is it shows up as where you think you're getting Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or memory loss. And what happens is people drink alcohol and it depletes their thiamine, their B1 and their other B vitamins, and as a result causes all these problems. And really something as simple as taking ultrathiamine B1 can, even within a day, help to alleviate some of these symptoms. Have you found that to be true?
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing. And it's not just peripheral neuropathy, it's central too. Wernicke's and Korsakoff's encephalopathy, which happens in people who are drinking too much alcohol, diabetics, or people who are getting pre-Alzheimer's disease, or we call hippocampal disease. Hippocampus is your card file system for your memory. So your short-term memory is set up by the hippocampus. And if it's not functioning properly, you don't store short-term memories, all you have is long-term. And it can be very confusing if your short-term memory tells you don't remember what happened today, or the last week, or so many minutes. It can be very, very disturbing.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, very scary stuff. And what people should start to realize is that there's no need for that at all. We can overcome that problem pretty simply by using this. Tell us what else is what's in the phospholipids, NutriFos, and these other things that we talked about, like Minerals Plus and the ultrathiamine B1. How does this reverse neuropathy?
Well, I'll leave that to you in terms of how the function works in the body, but I can definitely tell you about the Minerals Plus.
Tell what's in it. Tell us in the product. What's in the products that makes it so superior? I'll deal with the kind of the medical metabolic.
Sure,
stuff.
Good. Yeah, the Minerals Plus I really like. It's the highest quality multi-mineral trace mineral complex on the marketplace, and we were talking about before, TRAX amino acids. So these are all TRAX amino acids, meaning they're all amino acid chelates. What happens with minerals is a lot of times you can go to the store and find carbonates and oxides. These are the binding agents that they put on minerals, and those are really cheap forms. And as a result, you'll take them and you'll get your stomach will hurt, or it just won't be well absorbed because it's put together. These minerals are put together with these really cheap binders, but not these TRAX amino acid chelates. See, they're bonded to amino acids, and so as a result, the body recognizes these minerals as food or protein, and then as a result, they get absorbed as protein. So it's a lot easier for the body to absorb a protein than it is a mineral, and so you're going to get a lot more out of these TRAX amino acid chelates that you have in the Minerals Plus than you would anywhere other form of minerals. Not to mention in the Minerals Plus you have the trace minerals in there, and you also have betaine HCl. That's a really important component because it really helps support digestion of the minerals as well. So really everything you need from a mineral standpoint. If you're exercising or in hot weather, you lose a ton of minerals. If you're on a chelation protocol or just have a compromised immune system, Minerals Plus would be the one I'd recommend to give you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now that's important because what happens is the TRAX amino acid chelates will bring the minerals in because they're not brought in by the natural, by the regular, we call logjam type system that will take every mineral into the same ionic pathways. It actually brings them in by pinocytosis, which means they're actually brought into the cells and tissues by active transport. That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you also wanted to hear about NutriFos, right?
Yes, NutriFos. That's a very important nutraceutical for regenerating people's tissues. And as I say, when we're talking about a physical exam, that peripheral and central neuropathy are part and parcel of aging, which is why a lot of people get joint damages too, because they don't know they can't feel their joints or regulate proprioception or position sense, and that means they're also going to injure them from mechanical forces. So restoring your nerve function will prevent, we call Charcot joint or proprioceptive joint injury. Back in a moment with Clay. And welcome back. And next area that we have a lot of people concerned about is their anxiety on the one hand or no energy on the other hand. And if you have no energy, the first thing we recommend, number one for energy for your brain is Cognition Plus, brain power. And we can add synaptin to that. If you're talking about myelination for a young person that has autism, or an older person that's either got diabetes, which is basically diabetes of the brain is Alzheimer's disease, where you end up with a change in sugar metabolism of the astrocytes, your brain cells, and you need to lower insulin resistance, but also you want to increase energetics, and that's where the Cognition Plus comes in, and brain power, and of course our synaptin. So Clay, let's talk about Cognition Plus. It's one of our, I call Smarter in an Hour pill. And then we talk about energetics to increase people's, we call energy. We have Neurival, which is acetyltyrosine. We add that after the fact if the Cognition Plus doesn't do it. And I usually, what I'll do is tighter it up. Take one capsule of Cognition Plus. If it doesn't work, I go up to 2. And I tell people 1 to 2 twice a day. And let me tell you, you're going to be smarter in an hour. And week after week, you get to take it. You will sleep better. You'll have lucid dreams. You'll be able to kind of power through the day. I call it the lubricant for life. Cognition Plus. Because it makes you smarter. It has some of the components in that movie that was about 2 years ago called Limitless, where a guy took one of the components that we have in here, which is huperzine A, and he got an IQ of 4,000. He started inventing all kinds of things, and all of a sudden become a mega trillionaire. Well, the fact is you will raise your IQ on this. You're not going to become a mega trillionaire, but if you have a potential to be of superior genius intelligence, it'll unveil it. And no matter what your age. And it'll take time, maybe 3-6 months, a year, but you'll be smarter in an hour and you'll start remembering things. You'll also find that you'll be able to go through the day with a lot less stress. In other words, you'll be able to multitask much more effortlessly. So they exaggerate in the movie, but the fact is that we call cognitive enhancement formulas are out there, but ours is the best. And we have Cognitive Enhancement Plus Remyelination. plus cellular energetics with things like our D-ribose acetyl L-carnitine, which you can make a drink of. And we're also working on our sport drink, which we're going to launch here shortly, which is the Sport Energy Lights that's in nitrogen sachets. That's coming down the line as well. We've got some pretty amazing products, haven't we?
Oh, yeah. State of the art. I really love that.
There's nothing really comparable. Yeah, if you're a student and want to study, we have students that actually put it in their schedule. Buy books, order Cognition Plus. We have people that are middle years. Now they have their old elderly parents living with them, and they have their kids still living with them because they're going to school. And they're multitasking, trying to do one or more jobs and prepare at least some meals at home. And they're stressed. And, of course, if you want to anti-stress, the first thing to do is become competent. And when you become competent, then you have time for exercise, you have time to diet and not overeat. And by the way, calming your brain down, that's the other amazing product we have is Calm Mind. We sell flats of this stuff. Some people say, we got a call the other day, how can I buy a flat? I said, no problem, we'll make you a deal. And of course, I call it the 1-2 punch is to use Calm Mind and Brain Mag. I mean, my favorite drink, this is I call it way better than sedative, hypnotics, drugs, booze, marijuana. 1 scoop of each, Brain Mag and Calm Mind, in a glass of water or even seltzer, and it's like, wow, this stuff is, and it doesn't sedate you. It makes you just like what I call it. It puts you into a Zen moment. You're totally aware of everything around you. You're totally tuned in and responsive. The combination. So let's talk about these 3 products: Cognition Plus, Brain Mag, and Calm Mind.
Oh yeah, the Calm Mind just tastes fantastic too. It's cherry flavored, mixes easily with water, like you say, some seltzer. Just 1 scoop or 2 scoops max is all you need in terms of dose. It's not going to knock you out. What's in there is magnesium, dimalate. You have 2 grams of myo-inositol. You have taurine, GABA, and L-theanine from sun-theanine, which is the research form. So all the highest quality ingredients help balance the neurotransmitters, help you to cut cortisol, and really just feel relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the in terms of when people take the Calm Mind, the effect is pretty immediate. I tell people if they have a chronic anxiety disorder, like PTSD, they need to be on a scoop at least 4 times a day, and they may need to bump it up to an hour before bedtime. It works wonderfully with our sleep inducer, melatonin TR, which is an immediate 1 milligram, 3 milligrams, 4 milligrams slow release. And I can tell you, it's fantastic. If you want to sleep properly, have lucid dreams, you can do both. You can actually take the Calm Mind and you can take a Cognition Plus, and you'll actually do lucid dreaming where you can actually dream through problems. That's pretty cool. Hey, lucid dreaming. Take a Cognition Plus and Brain Mag and Calm Mind an hour before sleep, and your brain will wake up, you'll go into deep REM sleep, and you'll actually be able to steer yourself through your dreams and solve your problems. It's pretty neat.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and of course, if you get into deep sleep, that's when your body also releases growth hormone, melatonin, to actually protect you from cancer. The most powerful molecule that your body releases is melatonin an hour and a half after you go to sleep. You get little pulses during the day every 180 minutes. That's the way the brain's set up, like a clock where you have 8 pulses a day. But if you don't get a deep sleep in stage 4 muscle relaxation and REM sleep, you're not going to release that. And when you take these enhancing things, the other enhancing is the mitothyroid that has thyroid, hypothalamus, and adrenal, because hypothalamic dysfunction is much more common than people think. And you can measure a human growth hormone level. I had Dr. Phil Broughton actually from the lab in Santa Ana, California, over many years doing testing on my patients, measuring human growth hormone. And he doesn't just measure the sex hormone. He doesn't just measure the growth hormone binding protein, which most of the labs and LabCorp will do. He actually measures the real growth hormone. What you find is you can increase that by using things like our Indiamese, taking a microdose, which is a microdose growth hormone, and of course, very importantly, taking things like Brain Mag that protects the brain from stress, and Calm Mind and Cognition Plus to actually make the brain release those controlling hormones for all your other organs. In other words, it's not just your cognitive functions you improve when you take Cognition Plus. It's the control and release of all the hormones to regulate and prevent diabetes, thyroid failure, adrenal dysfunction, sleep wakefulness cycle, getting deep stage 4 sleep because you get sleep deprived, you're going to get fibromyalgia. So everybody that gets fibromyalgia, even post-virally induced or vaccine induced, has sleep deprivation of stage 4 muscle relaxation sleep if you do a sleep study on them. Interesting, isn't it?
Oh, fascinating, yeah.
Yeah, and so a lot of people say, how do you reverse it? Well, I said, well, I give them a combination of Cognition Plus, Brain Mag, and Calm Mind. And a lot of people just want the Calm Mind alone. They just say, I used to be a wine drinker. We had this lady call us. All I do is I sip on this all day long, and I'm just like gelled. I'm thinking, good, and you're healthier too because you're not taking in alcohol, which is going to drive your blood insulin levels. In fact, one of the other things with myo-inositol is it counteracts blood sugar and insulin and glucagon surges, because if your insulin goes up and your glucagon goes up, which makes your liver and kidneys make sugar, I call it the Snicker bar per hour effect. The Calm Mind actually helps to stabilize blood sugars in diabetics and pre-diabetics and people that are gestationally diabetic. It also helps to block addictions, food addiction, drug addiction, marijuana addiction, behavioral addictions like obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. It's amazing stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Clay, can you give us any other pointers on the Cognition Plus and what you've heard from people when they take it?
We can also give it to kids for school. You know, that's one of the things that it's very safe for elementary school age kids. I would back off the dosage, down to 1 a day, but you could definitely take it.
Yeah, I mix it with my daughter's smoothie, Kelsey. She's 22 now, and she's got Down syndrome. And she's taking neuroprotection. I give her a brain power, which has been vinpocetine, and the Cognition Plus, at least a capsule a day. I give her Neurogen. I will give her Myco D2, which also helps to stimulate regeneration. Nutriphosphospholipid for brain myelination regeneration because it's delayed. But the Cognition Plus, give it to your kids. Put it into their little smoothie, and your kids will come home smarter and say, Mommy, I made a A+. I'm thinking, right on. They took our NutriMed Cognition Plus. And if your mommy going to have a baby, take Cognition Plus and Neurogen, and you'll remyelinate your baby before they even come out, and they'll come out smarter. They'll come out of the womb counting. I'm just kidding. Thanks a lot, Clay. You did a great job today explaining the remarkable NutriMed line. And again, we have protocols like none others. And if you want to become a NutriMed member, just go to our NutriMedical site, sign up. You'll get access to the Wellness Conditions, our live stream channel, and now we're going to start indexing and cross-indexing the audio files for all the shows and interviews and other network shows too.